Hi, I'm Don Hubin. I'm the chair of the National Board of National Parents Organization. National Parents Organization is focused on ensuring that children have both their parents fully engaged in their lives after parental separation. And we recognize that one of the important ways of ensuring that is to reduce the contentiousness and conflict when couples are separating. And because of that, we are pleased and proud to be able to promote Divorce with Respect Week. And with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, attorney Ashley-Nicole Russell, who will be leading today's discussion. Ashley?
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for our second year of the Divorce with Respect Week round table with National Parents Organization. Thanks, Don. He's moving along to another meeting. I appreciate you and your presidency and all that you do for us at the National Parents Organization. And so we have here with us Melissa, and then we also have Tim. So I'm an attorney, and I am participating in Divorce with Respect Week. I'm also a board member for NPO, and I'm going to be hosting our little round table here. And Melissa is an LMFT. She's in California, so she's on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. And so she's representing kind of the mental health world that's related to Divorce with Respect Week. And then Tim is the marketing guy that's kind of behind the national effort, coordinating all of the states, because when all the boats rise, we rise together. And so he's helping out with that. And Tim, are you in Texas? Where are you at?
I'm in Texas, so I'm in the middle
Right
between
in
the
the
two of them.
middle. We have covered it. How perfect. Did we organize that? I'm not sure. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. And so, second weeks or second year, not week, my goodness. Melissa, what are you thinking? How was last year and what are you excited about this year?
Oh, it's been an amazing ride as we've seen this start in California and move across the nation, start with one state and move to about 15 now. And so the more we're able to educate the public about options to decrease acrimony, increase amicability. Of course, I'm in the mental health world, so I see all the time the consequences of when families, I mean, moms, dads, and kids, aren't protected in the divorce journey. So I'm very excited to be here and talking about educating the public about this and to see it spread so quickly.
And you even have an interview after this, right? Because it's been picked up. So you have another interview you've got to get on, right?
Yeah, so the Today in the Bay is doing an interview of myself and a couple who's been through the collaborative divorce process to talk about what that was like for them and how it's different from the litigative process.
Wow, that is incredible. What a takeoff. And so, Tim, talk about last year versus this year. How many did we have last year? How many do we have this year? How has the effort grown since we are in our second edition of
Yeah,
the
and
roundtable? You guys, we've been doing this Divorce with Respect Week longer than just these 2 years.
yeah, so it has grown. We've picked up some new states this year. New York is doing it for the first time this year. Florida is doing it for the first time this year. Um, there are probably some others that I'm forgetting right now that are part of it for the first time, and we have other states that have basically said, yes, we need to do this every year because it becomes that one time of the year when the entire collaborative community can speak with one voice and tell people about the collaborative divorce process. And I often like to say that what I hope comes from this is if there is a mother in California with a daughter in North Carolina who's facing divorce and she hears about Divorce with Respect Week and hears about the collaborative process, she'll tell her daughter, hey, you ought to look for someone to do this or go to the Divorce with Respect Week website and have a chance to talk to somebody. And so that's that building of the brand and building of the awareness that I think comes from Divorce with Respect Week.
And it's such a movement, collaborative in general. And this highlights that wave of it. And I think it allows us to all kind of focus, like we said, the whole country. Each one of us is representing a very dramatically different geographic region of our beautiful America. And so to be able to bring all that together, when does that happen anywhere in the law? When does that happen really ever? In family crisis, you know? So It's an incredible thing, and I'm really like it's just every year it gets bigger, and I get all the Google alerts, and I get more and more excited, and I'm so pumped about it. So we in North Carolina are one of those states that will be doing it every year, so we are very excited, and I'm just so impressed with it. So Melissa, what do you think is the biggest highlight? I mean, you have a couple that's going to be on this, Day in the Bay or whatever. That's so catchy how cute it is, your the interview that you're going to be on, and you actually have a couple. So that's the media always wants to actually talk to to people who have been through it. So you've got the golden egg there later. And so tell me, what do you think it is that highlights it for couples that they're like, wow, this process was a game changer? What is the difference that would make them say that?
Well, what this couple is going to say, and what we hear over and over again, able to go through the divorce process, which of course is a huge life change for everybody. It's very stressful with the right amount of support. So you don't just have legal support. I mean, really, that's just one kind of relatively small element compared to the family changes, the emotional part, the psychological part, and the adjustments everyone's going to go through. So, what I hear people say is, we ended in even a better state than where we started when we used the collaborative divorce process. They got communication tools, they were able to change some of the dynamics around communication, and they actually feel like they're better partners as co-parents now. Then that was always a strength of this couple I'm thinking of, but they think that they wouldn't have been able to get even better and improve the dynamic and improve things for their kid through a different process. There wouldn't have been the supports and the education.
It's
And I
such an awareness. Yeah.
I want to add to that. We have another couple in Southern California that that they started in mediation and they just felt they weren't getting anywhere and they moved to the collaborative process and their biggest concern was to take care of their daughter, that whatever decisions they've made would put their daughter, who's now 6, in a good place. And they really love the process to the degree that they're writing a book about their experience in the collaborative divorce process. And we did an interview with them, and they were together in the kitchen, which is where they were doing their side of it. They were there together recording that particular podcast that we did with them. So that what we find, I think, is, and I think it's what Melissa was saying, when couples go through this process, um, it is so much better for the family. It strengthens that redefined family, but it's still a family. And so that the collaborative process enables that in some really exciting ways.
Is such a generational changing process. Like that, I think is why we're all in it, is that it changes reverberations for years to come within these families. And that is like, I think about a couple recently that we had within the collaborative process, and they have a business together, an insurance company that they own together and will continue to own together. And they also have a daughter that is, in an adult now, but she will have to have lifelong care because of the illnesses that she has. And so, for those two people to divorce is and still continue to have such overwhelming ties to one another for such a long time, put that couple through the litigation process and my goodness, versus the collaborative process, and it actually can work and be a beautiful in the kitchen together, still able in the workplace together, still able to provide for all of your employees, still able to provide for your daughter, and still be able to communicate. It's such an incredible generational changing thing versus, put that in a litigation scenario and we've got a much different effect for the generations to come. So I think that
Yeah.
that's kind of what keeps us all in it. And so, Melissa, what brought you into the collaborative practice? What was the reason why you decided to get started into that?
Well, once I learned that there was a pathway through divorce that could really shift the dynamics and the communication between the parents, that just makes sense to me. The litigative approach, of course, it's adversarial. That's how the court system is set up. And it doesn't address the emotional and mental load that a divorce is, and it doesn't think about what's going to happen to this group of people who's going to stay connected the rest of their lives. So it's not a small thing about trying to get through a year or two of the divorce. Your co-parent and you are going to be co-parents the rest of your lives. You are the co-parents that your kid will have the rest of your lives, the rest of their lives. So I think it's just so important, we have to do this better. The divorce process, it needs to be family centered and focused on relationships and providing support so that those relationships can be fomented or at least neutral, right? If you go from a high conflict situation, maybe your goal is to get to neutral. And just make it better for kids and parents. And because you're tapping on this really important thing, right? This is generational if you have kids.
Oh,
It's gonna go beyond even your life if you're the parent divorcing.
for sure. And that's how I got into it all, which is my parents had a terrible divorce. And so now I'm in it turning the lemons into lemonade. Melissa, when did you get into it? Like, what year were you like, I've been trained for collaborative? Like, what was your training year?
So, actually, my, path started in 2012 when I went to Australia to do a training there
Wow.
with, basically that country was leading the world in bringing the children's voice into decisions that directly affect the children. And so that sort of process was there was a child specialist, there's also a person working with the parent, and really they were trying to move it. This is a legal process you need to go through, but how do we protect kids and parents? But I wasn't introduced to collaborative until 5 years ago. So even though my interest had been in protecting kids and protecting parents and making the divorce process better, I didn't know how to do that here in the States. And I stumbled upon a collaborative divorce, which is why I'm so dedicated to the as a public education endeavor. This should be a household name that people know what collaborative divorce is.
Okay, so when you were in Australia, you knew it existed in Australia, but you didn't know that it had made it over the ponds to us here. You didn't know it was active in California when you got your training because it was very alive.
So
I got trained in 2011, so in
yeah,
Australia, it was big during that time. So I remember all of.
so I didn't even know about the word collaborative divorce. I
Oh,
had been doing research online. I found this research and this process. It was called child inclusive mediation in Australia. But, I'm thinking as much as I was Googling and trying to be educated and understand what processes were and how to do things better for families, I didn't find collaborative divorce until I had been in the field for a number of years. And
wow.
so that's why I think it's so important that people I think are looking, oh, there's a better way. But unless you know the word collaborative divorce, like what do you Google?
Yeah,
And that's
unfortunately,
what
I think
Divorce
we should
with
have called
Respect
it
Week
like
does.
mediation plus. Like we should have written off a word that already existed instead of creating an entirely different word. But here we are and we finally made it. But listen to how long it's taken. So Tim, I'm going to eventually get to my question, but it'll just going to take me a minute to totally wrap around to get there. Okay, so work with me. So here's the thing that's incredible to me. So in 2011 is when I got trained in this. I was in law school. I was looking for mediation because I was already a certified mediator in undergrad as a salary employee, and then went to law school to really further dispute resolution. Found out about collaborative, was really hook, line, and sinker about it. I was like the first law clerk ever just for a collaborative attorney, only collaborative in 2011. Like that was wild for North Carolina. Had already focused totally on it. And they had the most beautiful name back then, Separating Together. How awesome is that? Beautiful oxymoron name. And so it was amazing. I learned all about it. Was in Milan, was in DC, and a lot of it was focused around Australia. There was this lady, our happy family lawyer. All of this information was coming from Australia. So in 2012 you were there, but look how many years later, which now enters Tim, that it has taken for us to get this concept that has been around and been amazing for families for over a decade. Truly, whenever we started studying it in North Carolina and when we incorporated it into our general statute was 2005. And so forever we've been handling this concept, but to get it out has taken a long time because we've created a word that we had to then define a meaning across an entire country with all these multiple different bodies of people and different ways to do it, different process options, different categorizations of what is collaborative, what is not collaborative. So the thing that highlights it is bringing together one focal point, which is Divorce with Respect Week, to now be able to highlight all of these types of processes: mediation, collaborative, divorce with respect, out of court. And now we can really get that message across, whereas it doesn't have to have a decade long uptake. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is where we need to be. So now here we are, Tim. What do you think? Or do you think we're going to have all 50 states like next year?
That's a great goal. I would hope we're going to get there one of these days. But there are some states that have very little in the way of collaborative presence. They're small states that are fairly limited. But I do think that it is really growing. I was contacted yesterday by somebody in Alaska. Now, that's the first contact I've had from any collaborative professional in Alaska. So I think we are moving in that direction. I do think it's really interesting, Ashley-Nicole, to talk a little bit about what you're saying about the process. My wife is a collaborative attorney. She was trained in 2000, 2001. But everybody for a long time just assumed because we built a better mousetrap, everybody would come running to it. And the truth of the matter is that they didn't. And among the issues were people would talk about collaborative law, or they'd talk about the collaborative practice or collaborative process.
Mhm.
And it was, I think, a failure to use the D word. There was this sense of that divorce was kind of an ugly, harsh word, and they stayed away from it. But when somebody was looking for something, and Melissa kind of went in that direction a little bit, when they were looking for something online, if it didn't say divorce, it didn't apply to them. And so we began working, my company did, with Collaborative Divorce Texas in 2015. And we began the process of how do we begin to redefine an understanding of how people search and look for that for collaborative divorce. And then when we launched Divorce with Respect Week in 2021 in California, it began to give us that platform to begin to really educate folks all across the country about the collaborative divorce process. And we've gotten television interviews like the one that Melissa is doing later today in multiple states and newspaper coverage. And we have done 25 podcasts this year with different folks around the country that we've produced about Divorce with Respect Week. Ashley-Nicole, we did the one with you the other day, and your story is like a lot of the stories of people that I talk to who their parents went through a divorce and it was terrible, and they got into the divorce world because they wanted to change how people got divorced. And that's what's really been happening with Divorce with Respect Week and with collaborative as a whole.
Yes. Yeah, what you've been doing in Texas, I've been doing on the East Coast, Melissa's been doing on the West Coast. It's kind of amazing. So, I have a marketing company as well, A&R Co., and I have 3 different collaborative law firms within the state of North Carolina, totally separate law firms. And so it's been spreading this message and creating this is been the highlight of my life because I know how many people that we touch every single time we make a change just in one person. But then also, like you said, the podcast, I started the Divorce Healthy podcast, I think in 2018 when I wrote the book. And I think that my goal was we got to get this message out. How do we get it out? How do we get it out to extreme levels of people? Because everybody needs to know about this. And like you said, they didn't just automatically come running, they don't know inherently what we know internally by being able to watch it. Melissa, watching all of the wonderful results is really what keeps us so tied and tethered to it, to the passion project. We get to see all of these wonderful, they start off on one end of the spectrum and they come together by the end of it. And now not to say that everybody's singing Kumbaya 24/7, that's not how it works, but it is an incredible experience to be able to have our perspective looking in on all of these families and how they're able to make the transformation. How does that feel to you watching that?
Well, like you said, it's what keeps us going, all of us in this field, that we're not just trying to get a couple from A to B, married to divorced. And especially as the coach, I mean, that's my primary role is to transition the family from poor communication, misunderstandings, easy escalation to increased understanding, to better both listening skills and speaking skills, and to see how that changes things. I mean, obviously, this is a huge improvement for the couple because you have many life decisions to make during the divorce. And if you have kids, you have many more decisions to make together. So being able to like de-escalate, increase understanding, and see like their lives become less stressful. And then of course, the unseen um, people who are in the room, but we don't see them are the kids. And children, this is a protected class of citizen for a reason. What happens in childhood has significant effects and it goes beyond the years of the divorce. And so I know that when we're teaching parents healthy ways to communicate, that also has a generational dimension, right? Kids get to see healthy ways to communicate, healthy ways to disagree, healthy ways to argue. It's possible. And yeah, I mean, that fills me up. And hopefully, because it's making such a change in other people's lives, I get to hear them say, we want to talk about our experience. We want to share this with the public as well, with anyone who wants to hear about it.
When you say a class of people, I think that resonates with me so much. The title of the book is The Cure for Divorce Culture, and then, the subtitle is Restoring the Damage Within a Lost Class of People, which is the children of
Mhm,
divorce, and so that was me, and I feel like when we have a huge level of interns, we have a ton of interns that come through our program, and
mhm,
all of them have this same life experience. They gravitate towards us because their parents went through a crazy divorce. They're going to law school because it affected them. They want to find, some measure of
mhm,
justice. And so they come to us and they're like, oh my gosh, this process would have saved my life. Or my parents did do it this way. And this is why I'm here because I want more people to know about it. So now we're kind of getting to that level, which is cool, of the adult children of divorce and even adult children now of collaborative divorce. It's been a while since we've been able to say that. And so now we're here and we can see the difference between that class of people versus the adult children of litigated divorce or acrimonious divorce. And there's a big difference. There is a huge difference. And they even speak for themselves. They have their own Instagram platforms and other things now. And so when you say a class of people, I think that it means so much to me, and it like, even my interns, they come and and they'll say, "I now feel like I kinda understand a little bit of the brokenness that I have from my parents' brokenness when I was
mhm,
younger," and then there the healing starts. That's where you can come in and start to really peel back those layers and help them, process what happened, whenever they've been a part of that process that we weren't able to save early on, so
mhm. Yeah, there are other opportunities. That's the beautiful thing. Whatever has happened to us, there'll be other opportunities to repair it. But of
Mhm.
course, being able to prevent is number one because life is tough anyway. And
Mhm.
so you know, whatever protections we can build in, of course, are going to be better for kids and parents. But you're also reminding me this is why Divorce with Respect Week is so exciting because it's shining a light. This is a ray of sunshine, right? It's about how to do it better, how to better protect yourself, how to better protect your kids, as opposed to something that's like dark and gloomy. The divorce is going to be hard. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it. You can't sugarcoat that. But you can do it in a way where you can set out to protect, to do it better. And by better, I mean you feeling better, you being better, your soon to be ex the same, and your kids.
Well, and I think Tim naming it Divorce with Respect Week was a good call because better to me is every moment we can insert an ounce of respect into the process, an ounce, a mustard seed of respect into the process and into the parents, that's where we're saving the children. When they see the respect, they feel the respect, that's when we save the children because they know those two people make up me. They know that. Their body knows that. So it's a really cool thing, and I like the way that you named it. Okay, so Tim, just tell us, when is the week? What happens during the week? How do people get in touch with the week, where they are? And then we'll wrap it up.
So Divorce with Respect Week is March 3rd through 9th. And we will have upwards of 600 divorce professionals from around the country listed on the Divorce with Respect Week website. You can go to the site and you can find a professional to talk to, whether it is a lawyer or a mental health professional or a divorce coach. They're all, or a financial professional. Any of those people can have a conversation with you. It's free. It's a 30-minute virtual consultation to kind of talk a little bit about divorce and what your options might be, and to learn more about the collaborative process. And so that's March 3rd through 9th, and the website is divorcewithrespectweek.com.
Awesome. And National Parents Organization is here to help spread awareness around shared parenting across America. So we, of course, support the respect into families and into the divorce process. We think that absolutely helps children and helps the process and helps us to advance our mission as well. So we are absolutely thrilled to be able to have our second year of supporting you guys you've been doing it since 21, so this is your
This
fifth
is
year,
this is the fourth
fourth
because the
year.
first one was at the end of 2021.
Okay, got it. So fourth year, we've been a part of exactly half of it. That's awesome. And so we are thrilled to be a part of it. We'll be thrilled to be a part of it next year. You guys are doing great work. Thank you so much, Melissa and Tim. And I'm excited to be on this journey with you and helping to rise all the boats together. So have a wonderful interview, Melissa and Tim. Thanks so much. We'll be in touch next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go
So
ahead.
I'm Melissa Lenon, and I'm a divorce coach and therapist, and my website is mydivorcecoach.net.
And I'm Tim Crouch with the Crouch Group. We work with collaborative professionals throughout the US and Canada, London, and Australia. And my website is www.thecrouchgroup.com.
And I'm Ashley-Nicole Russell, and I am a collaborative divorce attorney and an author and podcaster. And we are on a mission to change divorce in America. You can find us at A&R Law, at Michael and Russell, at A&R Co. And on social media handles, just Google my name. And so thank you so much for being a part of all this, and we're happy to be a support of it.